We've now put an article up on our Lega Football Substack about Spalletti's attacking options this week, which you can find there, links on Twitter and the Facebook page as well. It's titled Italy's Most Potent Attack, with a question mark, of course. Following a clear out of the Azzurri stars and the methodical replenishment of up-and-coming prodigies, the mood of the average Napoli fan has swung like a bipolar pendulum in recent months, from losing Mertens and Insigne to then snaring some of the league's best strikers in the final weeks of the transfer market. We dissect Spalletti's options. Can the Napoli manager exploit the full potential of his A-team while maintaining a healthy aura of competitiveness with such an opulent bench now? His tactics are a 4-2-3-1 formation which feeds Osimhen, or a 4-3-3 where the number 10 goes back into a mezzala position. Currently, Lozano has been preferred to Politano on the right, with Zielinski the logical choice centrally. Kvaratskhelia has easily beaten the likes of Zerbin and Elmas to the left-wing candidacy with brilliant performances against Verona and now Monza. We haven't even mentioned the other four attacking additions to the Napoli squad yet. So the Napoli attacking transfers: Raspadori replaces Mertens, Kvaratskhelia replaces Insigne, and Simeone replaces Petagna, who incidentally scored against Napoli on the weekend but had the goal disallowed as he shoved a defender to the floor before heading in. Then there is Alessio Zerbin and Gianluca Gaetano, who come back from their loan spells. So they're two very gifted and versatile players. Zerbin can play on either wing. Gaetano can play as a pivot, as a mezzala, and also likes to play in a left-wing attacking role. But then there is Adam Unas, who's still at Napoli. So with Jack Raspadori, who joins from Sassuolo, Simeone from Verona, and Guevara from Dinamo Batumi, they have a long list of options, and all that for just 18.5 million euros in the short term. But there is depth there now, and that's precisely what Spalletti needs for his new Napoli, which is a UEFA Champions League Napoli. Yes, it's impossible to replace the likes of Insigne and Mertens. It was also impossible replacing Cavani, Hamsik, Lavezzi and Higuain, but Napoli had to soldier on in this 4-2-3-1 lineup. We'll just take you through the attacking preferences for Spalletti. Lozano on the right, Vara on the left, Zielinski playing behind Victor Osimhen. Spalletti's been able to keep the nucleus of his team together despite all the other players leaving as well, such as Ospina and Koulibaly, and it looks as if Fabian Ruiz is departing as well, or will be frozen out of the side. Astonishingly, there are only two alterations to the Napoli lineup from last season, with Kvara coming in to replace Insigne, Kim Min-jae coming in to replace Koulibaly. The other 9 players were already there. So the Napoli second 11 at this point would be, and I'm talking about attackers, Elmas would be a reserve left side player, Politano on the right, Raspadori as a number 10 behind Simeone, with Zerbin, Unas and Ambrosino as options, and also Gaetano. So take into account that Unas, Dem and Zerbin are not even named in that second 11. Such is the depth at the Maradona at the moment. Now, whether Napoli is hoarding players or not is another question. Maybe the sporting director Cristiano Giuntoli has learned from previous seasons. Perhaps a luxurious surplus of players is a result of reduced expenditure. Giuntoli has shaved the wage bill down by 25% this season, from 60 to 45 million. To Napoli's advantage, the fruits of the academy are ripening. Gaetano and Zerbin, they return with 7 and 9 goals respectively in Serie B last term, but the question still remains as to which players in the squad, if any, get sent out on loan or even sold. Elmas is versatile, so he's become a part of the Napoli furniture, particularly as a part of a beautifully crafted, robust bench, and undeniably has secured his position. Unas is exciting, but he's as exciting as he is inconsistent, so unless Matteo Politano is sold, the Moroccan could find himself on the outer and having reduced playing time as the season goes on. And considering that Napoli are playing Champions League this season as opposed to Europa League or Conference League, Spalletti will try and play his strongest lineup and could even deploy a 4-3-3 in the competition. He does like to fluctuate between that and a 4-2-3-1. So in the 4-3-3 formation, Raspadori would be favourite to replace Kvara, with Politano as first choice backup for Lozano. Zielinski would play deeper or wider in midfield. But if Spalletti goes for a Lobotka, Anguissa and Ndombele midfield trio in a 4-3-3, then Zielinski would be used off the bench along with Gaetano and Dem, further diminishing Unas's playing time with a mixed combination of Politano, Raspadori, Kvara, Zerbin, Elmas and Simeone all on the bench. Unas could be at the back of that conga line. At this point, it's undisputed that Victor Osimhen is the first choice starting striker. He's a beast. He remains the focal point in attack. The acquisitions of Simeone and Raspadori offer potent striking alternatives. And then there's 18-year-old Giuseppe Ambrosino from the Primavera, so you couldn't even see Unas coming in as a false nine. The Napoli tifosi have all been shown the full deck now that Giuntoli was shielding throughout July and August. And if Spalletti feels like it, he can even turn to a 4-4-2. Simeone and Osimhen would make a devastating combination up forward. If they're chasing a game, he could go gung-ho with a Raspadori, Victor and Cholito strike force. All the makings of a Serie A superhero series or a European UEFA Champions League superhero series. So again, pending injuries, Elmas ranks higher than Unas and Zerbin in the pecking order. The North Macedonian is a more important component in bridging gaps, and his pressing game is second to none. Gianluca Gaetano is still unproven at Serie A level, and in order, these are my favourites to leave before September 1st. It's definitely Adam Unas as the first choice for Spalletti to let go of. He's no stranger to loan spells. He's been at Crotone, Cagliari and Nice. He spent half the season with Napoli last term though. He'd prefer to play at a smaller club as opposed to peeling oranges in Naples. Spalletti has also ensured that Unas has played in both Serie A fixtures so far, which was a tactic possibly to attract suitors. Then there's Alessio Zerbin at number 2, surplus to requirements at this stage, and has failed to take his opportunities against Verona. Unsure he's ready at this level. And again, Spalletti has dangled the carrot to potential suitors with 10 to 15 minutes in each game. Then there's Gianluca Gaetano. Sometimes it's all about timing, and the ex-Cremonese star suffered a 2-match suspension at a crucial point in the season before the season even started, which has further restricted his chances of impressing Spalletti, at least in a competitive sense out on the pitch. Then it's Matteo Politano at number 4, and that's only because he initially wanted to move away, and if a decent club does come in with an offer, there's a small chance that the former Sassuolo man could leave. Number 5 is Herving Lozano. Probably sounds crazy now, but he had been linked with a big money move to the Premier League. Number 6 is Piotr Zielinski, and that's also for the same reason. He was linked with a big money move to the Premier League. Lots of things to consider for Luciano Spalletti. Perhaps the Fabian Ruiz situation is clouding the skies over Mount Vesuvius as well. He's rumoured to be leaving for 25 million for PSG. The club had made the agreement, but Fabian Ruiz, it seems to me as if Fabian Ruiz would prefer to leave on a free transfer, and that could possibly be to command a higher yield when it comes to wages. As we've seen in the past with Rabiot and Ramsey joining Juventus, there was no transfer fee involved. They left for free and they arrived and could command higher wages, and that's potentially what Ruiz is doing. And in my opinion, he'd probably prefer to play at Real Madrid or Barcelona, who have been linked with him before, so he could bide his time and wait another 12 months, but that would inhibit his ability to be selected for the Spanish national team if he stays in Naples and doesn't play, and perhaps Aurelio De Laurentiis will use that in the tactical warfare. Still 1 week to go in that saga, so we'll see what happens. Que passerà? One thing's for sure, the Partenopei are now brimming with quality and depth in the final third all across midfield. Sure, it's going to take some tweaking to perfect Spalletti's brew as the tactician attempts to cast an unanticipated spell upon his adversaries, because I'm not sure they saw this coming. But thankfully for now, dogmatic and cynical Napoli fans, all of you out there, can breathe a sigh of relief, including myself. It's now time for the pundits to swing from Napoli will struggle to finish in the top half to Napoli is a dark horse for the Scudetto.
This is Lega Football.